Mayor will call it to order in 1 minute.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to say ready to go live now then, because you asked me. But something's going on with my screen setting up.
So there are going to be some staff that are on. Kevin. They're going to be a bit about staff that are. Jason, is Jason? We
Yes.
need to get the attendance.
Jason, yeah.
We'll get the attendance. Jason is on? Okay.
We're getting that.
We'll get the attendance. Okay. You ready to start?
No, because I have to close the YouTube or we get that feedback. So hold on. I don't know what happened there.
Mary, it's Mitch down here. I was just wondering if everybody remembers to turn on their mute button. I get a lot of feedback.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Mitch. So we ready? Well, good evening. It's 6:30. I'll call the corporate planning meeting to order. Take attendance. Councillor Chason.
Here.
Thank you. Councillor Hatfield.
I'm here.
Councillor Reese.
I'm here.
Councillor Tate.
I'm here.
Thank you. Just going to go through staff. Kathy and Maury are here with me in council chambers. The staff that are online, Manuela.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Corey.
I'm here.
Thank you. Alex.
I'm here.
Thank you. Kevin.
I'm here.
Thank you. Jason. Okay. Is there anybody else? That's okay. Thank you. Disclosure of pecuniary interests. Seeing none, I'll ask Bill to move the approval of the agenda. And I'll go through roll call for to see who's in favor. Councillor Chason.
Yes.
Councillor Hatfield.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Reese. Thank you. Councillor Tate.
Yes.
Thank you. There are no delegations or presentation. Adoption of minutes. I'll ask Councillor Hatfield to move the adoption of minutes. I'll call the question. Councillor Chason, do you approve?
I approve.
Thank you. Councillor Hatfield.
I approve.
Thank you. Councillor Reese.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Councillor Tate.
I approve.
Thank you. Moving to item number 6, business arising out of the previous meeting, 6.1, the COVID-19 update, A and B. CEO Maury will speak to those 2 items.
Mr. Mayor, we're having a little difficulty. For some reason right now, there's no sound being recorded. We're being live streamed on YouTube. So if we could ask for everyone's indulgence for a couple minutes pause while Jason is fixing the situation.
All right. Did you folks hear that at home hear that? There's an issue with sound. We're just going to wait before Maury gives her presentation on 6.1A to see if we can get the sound restored to everybody.
He's working on, he has control.
Hey, real quick, sorry, Mary, it's Alex. I'm on YouTube right now, and I just checked, and I can hear your sound through YouTube.
Well, thank you, Alex. Okay, Mayor, then proceed. We'll proceed.
Okay. So Maury, then 6.1A.
Thank you. I've shared with Mayor and Council tonight the most recent letter submitted by Mayor Thon on behalf of the partner municipalities involved in the liquefied natural gas project. It's a letter through Marathon that we submitted to the Ontario government, asking for a 60-day extension to the Ontario gas program. Year that eligible applicants who had projects that were going to be constructed in this fiscal year would be eligible for funding for their projects. But given the COVID-19 situation, we have asked the government for a 90-day extension to apply for that funding, requesting that because of COVID-19, our project may be delayed until the following year. So I've shared that letter with council. The project is moving forward. However, COVID-19 has delayed some aspects of the project for proceeding, but we will be regrouping as communities to move forward with the continued planning and studying of the project next week.
Thank you. Are there any questions for council regarding the LNG project?
Just one for Marty. And delaying that for 60 days, would that in any way, shape, or form cost us more in a year from now?
It's my understanding, Councillor Chasson, that it would not. Right now, we have funding from the government to complete the study phase, and that funding has been guaranteed until we need it due to the COVID-19. That deadline's been extended. There is certainly a possibility that construction costs increase as we move forward. But this letter is about the fact that we would be eligible as a group of communities for substantial government funding to support the construction. So any increase in construction costs would be definitely minimal compared to the fact if we did get any government funding. So I'm confident that what we're doing is the best for the project and the municipality from the financial side.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. 6.1B, the financial impacts of COVID-19.
Yes, Mayor and Council, I've put together a report with staff on the impacts to the financial situation at the municipality due to COVID-19 and how it's impacted our financials to the end of April, so as of April 30th. And then we projected the estimated costs and loss of revenue to the end of June. And that would give us a projection for half of the year and how COVID-19 is impacting the municipality. To try to give council an estimate of some of the reductions in revenue, all staff could do at this time was take the costs and revenues that were expended from the period January 1st to April 30th, 2020, and then compare them to the costs and revenues that we spent the year previous between the same period. And from that, we are just noting tonight for council some of the larger variance items as noted in the charts included in my report. Certainly any changes to the provincial emergency declaration and the regulations that come out may impact our estimates we're making to the end of June. And this will give us an overview for the short-term impacts. The longer-term impacts are unknown and certainly will be something we report to council regularly as time goes by. For the short-term impacts by department or service, I've outlined for council in the report how we've experienced revenue losses, again, to April 30th in one column, to June 30th in the next, with some explanatory comments. We've seen some reductions, as you would anticipate, from our ratepayers accessing fire permits during a fire emergency order to not have fires. There's also been a reduction in call-outs, which there's a good side as the public traveling on the highways is reduced. So have been the call-outs of our fire department to assist with accidents. So we have experienced a revenue loss of about $6,500 in that cost category, with a projected revenue loss of about $15,000 at the end of June. On the building permit side, due to the fact that there are two larger projects which have provided increased revenues on the building permit side, plus that there has been a steady rate of renovations and requests for permits during the pandemic. Right now, we are not projecting any revenue loss on the building permit side. And as we're noting, as the provincial government opens up more construction to proceed, we don't anticipate any short-term impact. On the municipal airport, certainly fuel sales and call-outs have been reduced, impacting slightly the revenues to the airport up to April 30th, but we are experiencing or estimating to the end of June a larger impact. Transit fees, tipping fees, that kind of work, and those fees, we're collecting less from our ratepayers as they're using our facilities less. And also because transit was canceled in March, we're not accessing any user fees. On the water and sewer side and the taxation side, as we've reported to council before, the impact to council delaying and waiving the interest and penalty fees until July 1st doesn't impact our budget up until April 30th, but the impact to providing opportunities for ratepayers to delay payment without penalty does cost the department roughly $17,000. On the community center side, some of our largest revenue impacts are to our community center as we had to close the facility. We weren't permitted to rent our hall, continue with activities such as fitness memberships and some of our senior classes. So basically the overall impact to the end of April was about $25,000. But we do anticipate by the end of June that the revenue loss side could look around the $55,000 mark. We have some other proposed reductions and projected revenue losses in user fees and tourism product sales, marina slips. So our estimate for our revenue loss at the end of April is about $45,000. That's based again on a comparison of actuals this year compared to the year previous for the same time period. But our projected revenue loss at the end of April 30th is about $154,500. I'd like council to note that those projected revenues were anticipated, and therefore in the municipal budget that's being presented to council tonight, we are providing and recommending a one-time COVID-19 expense budget item of $150,000, so that money is available to council to offset some of these reductions in revenues that we anticipated. For the second note that I share with council, we also, as a municipal staff, have done a number of proactive measures to immediately, once the emergency declaration was made, we immediately took steps to reduce our expenditures and undertake any cost containment activities that we could at the time. So in a very organized fashion, we undertook some of the following actions I'd like to highlight tonight. That immediately all discretionary training, conferences, and travel were suspended beginning in March, and that has resulted in an estimated savings up until the end of June of $30,000, and that was already accounted for in the 2020 budget. The hiring of 3 proposed new full-time staff positions was suspended immediately. The cost savings on suspending those hirings up until the end of June is another $30,000. Staffing needs were reviewed, and 2 positions at the community service department were provided temporarily layoffs for a 16-week period, which will begin next Tuesday. 2 positions within the administration and IT GIS department and the administration department were deployed to the community services department to perform general maintenance activities during the summer months, replacing the need for the municipality to hire summer students in the community services department. The estimated savings from that activity results in about $35,000. Discretionary spending was reduced or eliminated, resulting in a savings of $10,000, and other actions were taken, including reducing consulting and contractor fees, minimizing overtime, lowering our borrowing costs by reducing debt levels and interest charges, something that Manuela, our Deputy Treasurer, will speak to more as a proposal for council to consider that could result in estimated savings of $25,000. So just highlighting those as indicative of some of the activities we undertook. Between March 23rd and September 4th, we will reduce expenditures by approximately $100,000. But tonight, other cost initiatives are proposed for council's consideration. So under my memo 2.2, one of the items tonight is to recommend that council authorize that the Tourist Information Center be closed for the entire season of 2020. So after considerable review by staff and the COVID-19 trends, the need for us to maintain the health and safety of our existing employees, as well as those residents and visitors who may stop at the center, it is strongly recommended that council approve that the center remain closed. It's not a facility that can be easily modified to maintain distancing protocols to keep our workers safe, with the majority of activities at the TIC being interaction with travelers who come from across the country and province. There may be a higher rate of the possibility of infections at the center, and it isn't possible to adequately provide protection for our summer students who normally be hired, or staff and the visitors who enter the facility. As an alternative, under the direction of Alex, our director, he has examined the facility to find a way that we could still be welcoming to those visitors who may stop to have a washroom break, a stretch break, or to look at our lovely Wawa Goose. Staff is recommending that 2 portable washrooms be installed. Those would be provided by a local contractor and cleaned daily by a local contractor for the next 4-month period. The accessible portable washrooms can be sanitized more effectively and efficiently when we compare to the interior washrooms in the TIC Center. Also, garbage receptacles will also be provided on site, including a contractor dumpster, to ensure that our staff have limited exposure to any possible contamination from garbage. We are already, Mayor and Councillors, seeing an increase in the number of people stopping there, depositing their garbage, wanting to use the facility. So we do recommend, although we're closing the TIC facility itself, that the municipality maintain providing the services of washroom and garbage services. On the cost saving side, although we're recommending this primarily for the health and safety of the community and our workers and visitors, there would be some cost savings on the operating side of possibly $15,000 or more over the season, of which Alex and I will report more accurately to council about in the future. The closure of the TIC is also recommended as a way to support the messaging and directives coming out of the Algoma Public Health regarding that travel should be restricted during the time of the pandemic. So to have it open is not in keeping with the spirit of what we're trying to achieve. So if council would consider that, I would appreciate that. The second item I'm asking for council's consideration is the cancellation of the Canada Day festivities proposed for July 1st, which basically this year would be the cancellation of the annual fireworks program. During this type of community event, it would be extremely difficult for staff to manage social distancing requirements, maintaining community safety. As well, fireworks are not strongly recommended during a fire ban, and the cancellation would save the municipality approximately $10,000. It is great reluctance that staff make this recommendation to council, but after examining all options and looking what our federal, provincial, and other municipal partners are doing, this does make the most sense for the community. So in conclusion, I wanted to demonstrate to council that employees are continually reviewing the 2020 budgeted impacts on the revenues and the expenditures, and how we can address those by minimizing the impacts as best possible. And many steps were taken proactively to prepare. But the last note is that the longer term financial impacts of COVID-19 are not known, and we will continue to examine all possibilities within municipal operations, our existing staffing levels, and the services and programs we provide, to provide regular updates to council and to prepare for any changes that may occur in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. For council, we'll just, if I can get your opinion on the closing of the TIC Center for the summer and the cancellation of the Canada Day festivities. These are things that are fast approaching, and if you're following the news, many organizations are already closing things going into the fall. So I think it is a reasonable request. So Councillor Chasson, do you agree with the cancellation, not to open the TIC and to cancel Canada Day festivities? I'll ask you first, Councillor Chasson.
Yes, I agree with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hatfield?
Yes, I agree, Mr. Mayor, and I'd like to make a comment.
Sure.
I think it's time, when I read all the cancellations and all the costs and everything, it's bringing COVID-19 closer to home.
Yes, yeah, you realize that we need to take actions in our community as well. We've been lucky so far and we need to keep working at it. Thank you. Councillor Reese?
Yes, I agree as well. And
Thank you.
thank you, Maury. Work again.
Great, thank you. Councillor Tate?
Yes, I agree. I just have a couple comments.
Sure, go ahead.
When are the washers at the TIC will be available? Because I see quite a few vehicles already in that parking lot.
Maury, do you know when they're going to work on that?
Yes, I've spoken with Alex, and Alex, if there's anything you want to add to my response back, is that they should be available this weekend. They've already been delivered to site.
Yes, that's correct. Okay, that's great, because I just noticed in town and around that area and Pinewood Drive that the traffic is picking up more and more every day. But I agree with the cancellations just because of the situation of the times.
Thank you.
On that subject as well, Mr. Tate, just for everybody's information, we're also installing additional garbage collection there as well to make sure that our staff can be safe while also taking care of any of the garbage that's generated from travelers. That's great. Thanks.
Thank you, Alex. Okay, with that, then we'll move to Alex 6.1C regarding the agreement with Waves. If you just want to speak to your memo.
Sure. So just an update for council's information. At the beginning of the declared emergency, we got together with a lot of the other community service organizations and continue to hold weekly calls with those organizations. One of the major pieces of feedback we received was that there was an issue upcoming that a lot of the organizations were concerned about regarding getting vulnerable persons who could not leave their homes with groceries. So for council's information, we were able to coordinate a program with WAWA and Area Victim Services. They're going to be the lead agency for this program. However, the municipality is supporting them through the use of the municipal house account at the grocery store. So that'll enable Waves to get past the payment barrier that they were having. And if the service is needed, which we've actually had one call about so far, then we'll be able to provide that to those in need, but that'll be determined by Waves.
Thank you very much, Alex. Are there any questions for Alex regarding that agreement?
Yes, I got one question, Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
Can you explain it with this house account? I don't understand this part. So essentially, the house account is similar to the municipal account that, like a place like Canadian Tire Home Building Center. It's an account that we normally use to service the canteen. It's basically just a way to purchase food, but instead of having to have a credit card there, having to figure out payment with the client, it's billed directly to the municipality. So essentially, how the service is working is because Waves can't handle cash or funds or credit card on behalf of their clients. Essentially, the municipality is providing the holding account for those funds, and then clients pay the municipality to essentially get rid of their bill. Okay, I understand now. Okay, thanks.
Just a point here, this is all set up, but so far no one's taken advantage of this program, but should someone request it, we're set up to operate it.
Yes, that's correct. We've only had one inquiry so far that may lead to it. However, this is set up in the case where there's a case in the community where someone needs to quarantine, but they don't have any other support to go and get essentials.
Thanks, Alex. 6.1D, list of activities updated. Kathy, did you want to just speak to that, please?
Okay, you'll see in your packages, I had handed out a 6-page document of the activities undertaken by the province of Ontario. But what I'm going to report on tonight is just the activities that have occurred with the Emergency Management Program Committee. So in the Algoma District, We have a population of approximately 114,000 people. We've administered 5,281 tests. There were 16 positive tests, 13 are now resolved. 4,811 negative cases, 454 tests are currently pending, and there are no deceased, and that's as of today at 10:30 a.m. So these numbers include all the testing that has occurred at all the long-term care homes as part of the province's one-time surveillance testing, which was completed by May the 6th. There was a reported outbreak at the extended care Mapleview long-term care in Sault Ste. Marie. There are currently no reported cases in the North Algoma, which consists of the communities of Duberville, Mishpachot First Nation, Missinabee Cree First Nation, Wawa, and White River. White River opened its emergency daycare on Monday, May the 11th. The Algoma Public Health undertook surveillance swabs and completed its health inspection of that facility. Algoma Public Health continues to receive inquiries regarding workplace issues, and it reached out to the newly reopened businesses to ensure that it's taking public health measures to ensure the safety of the public. The staff at the community center continue to operate the community helpline and provide referral services to the municipality and its residents. Alex just spoke to the memorandum of understanding which we entered into with WAVES to assist the vulnerable population with grocery shopping. Mishpachot First Nation has reported that it's implemented limited access to its community, and only MFN members are able to attend within that community, and they've installed a security barricade outside their community. The Algoma Services Administration Board reported that it has subsidy programs available to those persons who may require assistance, and those programs are listed on their website, and it's also available on our website as well. Some of these programs include the Emergency Daycare Program for essential workers, or the Hydro Bill Payment Assistance Program for low-income individuals. Red Cross reported that it has suspended all of its local programming with the exception of the Meals on Wheels program, and those volunteers have increased the use of their PPE or their personal protection equipment. The province recently issued its new framework for the reopening of the provincial economy with strong safety measures in place. With some restrictions now being lifted, people should remain on high alert and expect community spread. People who cannot maintain that 2-meter physical distancing are asked to track who they've come in contact with in the event that there is a community case, community spread, and Algoma Public Health would be able to follow up with those individuals. One thing that Algoma Public Health did stress with us, it strongly encourages people to continue to work at home if possible, and any person who travels outside the Algoma district are asked to self-isolate. It's not mandated, but it is strongly recommended. Algoma Public Health also continues to provide community messaging and information, and we posted all that information on our website. I encourage the community of Wawa to please visit our website at wawa.cc and have a look at our COVID-19 section on our site. And with that being said, I'd like to say thank you to Sue Lord for setting up that link on our website. She's done a fabulous job. And just on another note, I just want to remind everyone that some of our local industries have commenced startup of their businesses, some last week and some this week. 2 of those industries include White River Forest Products and Alamos Gold.
Thank you very much, Kathy. Are there any questions for Kathy? Thank you. Moving to item 7, new business, 7.1. Corey, your report for the month of April 2020, if you'd like to comment on it, and then we'll take questions.
Yeah, so during spring, obviously the month of April, we were switching over equipment from winterized to get ready for summer, taking off plows and pushing tires, etc. Focused on sweeping of the streets and the sidewalks and sweeping of the boulevard. Looked at prepping for calcium to be coming into May, early June for dust control. Also, we were getting inventory on signs and ordering more signs to put up throughout spring and summer as we do, replacing some of the old ones that are no longer reflective or ones that may have been damaged. Aside from our staff operations, our water and sewer operators continue flushing storm and sewer mains throughout the municipality. We're currently wrapping up the THM study. Just reading on the final documentation from the ministry, and then that will be complete. There'll be some work I have to do with the DWP, and that's updated as well, just for suppliers and for additional testing due to the alum coagulants. And we've been checking the sewers and wondering on mission and main prior to connecting link commencing, just to try to get a better idea of if there is any potential problems which we may run into. However, the storm was all replaced approximately 20 years ago when they paved it last. So all the storms seem to look in good condition, and we'll continue to check on the rest of the sewers. The 2020 capital project, so far there's been no delay for me at all due to COVID. We're ramping up to get going after the long weekend to set up for connecting links, and hopefully late May to start excavating. There is going to be notice delivered to people in the construction zone area directly, as well as sent through mail and posted online or advertised on radio. There will be traffic flow at all times, as there'll be either flagged or they'll be reducing the 4 lanes down to 2. As expected with construction, there will be noise, there will be vibrations, and there will be probably delays in traffic. We're going to try to minimize that the best we can, and hoping for a good start this year and keep going. The other project, the RFP will be closing for the fuel tank at the airport, so that'll come back to council for approval most likely in June. And the RFP for engineering services for the ICIP fund, which is the school zones, is also out right now. And I will close into May, and then I'll have a report for June for council as well after that review. Currently at the landfill site, we have a sonar hydrogeological testing going on right now, which essentially they send signals down to the ground to try to find either pockets or areas of water and what those depths are and the flow. We also are currently having a dozer out on site, which is sloping the existing landfill site, preparing for a closure when we start capping the existing site. Currently, there's approximately 2 years estimated life out of our current spill site, but we're hoping to get into construction of expansion on the new site, 2021. A couple items just moving forward with, obviously we're looking to complete the road cleaning, parking, painting down Broadway and other intersections, update signage, replace some granular on roadways, also hauling sand to landfill for cover. We'll continue to monitor and track the construction project, and I'll probably be out on Connecting Link most of this summer myself, and continue to sweep stands from streets and sidewalks, setting up benches, garbage cans, and looking forward to hopefully a good summer.
Thanks, Corey. I'll ask councillors if you have any questions. Councillor Chasson, do you have anything to comment on?
No, I'm fine with that one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Hatfield?
No comment. It's going to be a busy summer.
For sure. Councillor Reese?
No comment.
Good. Councillor Tate?
Yeah, Corey, I got 3 questions. Right now, our THMs, what are the levels at? Are they consistent with what we expect?
Yeah, they're lower than they were the previous year, actually. Our average dropped quite a bit. We're still above where we want to be, where we're sitting around 60 to 75, depending on our tests, because it's done by an average over the past 4 tests. So we are under the 100, but we're still higher than where we want to be. And we haven't started the coagulant yet. We'll look to start that probably end of June, early July until October.
Okay, great, thanks. One other one, your landfill, did you get your compact loader going yet?
Yes, after a lengthy delay in parts, we did get them in, and it took about 3 days to complete the repair, and it's been up and running now for the last week.
Awesome. Also, we last year you were going to do some painting on Broadway. We talked about creating 3 parking spots in front of Bob's garage. Is that going to be done when we do the painting?
Yeah, that's correct. We will all be painting those spots in front of the garage as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Corey.
No problem.
Thank you. Corey, one question with regards to the connecting link. You said it's going to start late May. When do you expect the project to be concluded, and will we get the new paving done before the next winter comes?
So currently most of the construction work is expected to be done this year. I'm optimistic to wish that we can complete the whole project this year. However, that depends on how things carry on. I did budget approximately $900,000 for 2021 just to finish up anything remaining. However, like I said, I am hopeful that perhaps we can get everything done this year and finalized by the end of October. But it will really depend on the construction year and the weather and how things progress. As far as the agreement goes, we have until December 31st, 2021 for substantial completion. And then November 2022, or sorry, March 2022 for finalizing any documentation.
Well, that's good. Well, hopefully it will be a good season and it will go smoothly. Thank you, Corey. Excellent report. We'll move to 7. Thank you. 7.2. Manuel is going to speak regarding the debenture repayment. Maury, did you want to start on that, or is Manuela good to go right away?
I think Manuela can explain everything, and this is with respect to the fact that we have a debenture, or basically a loan, due come August 2020. So Manuela can speak to the matter.
Thank you. Okay, Manuela, go ahead.
Thanks, everyone. So as Maury was saying, we have a debenture for the MMCC building, or the Miss Cotton Memorial Community Center building, coming due August 27th for $1.61 million. This is a 20-year-old debt that we've been slowly paying down over the last 20 years. So as we know from Alex's previous report, this building is in need of some rehabilitation. So really, to be financially and fiscally prudent, our goal is to pay this debt down as quickly as possible with the least amount of expense to the municipality. So we looked at several ways to do this. We spoke, first of all, with the National Bank, who's holding the debenture right now. One, they're very expensive, and 2, they're not really interested in refinancing this debt because it is a 20-year-old debt. Infrastructure Ontario, we spoke to them hoping to find some low-cost money, but also because it's not a new project, they're not interested in financing it. So we looked at the local institutions, the local financial institutions, and they were willing to work with us over a 5 or 10-year period. But their interest rates were over 3, approaching and over %, depending on who it was and the length of the term. Also, they wouldn't guarantee a rate past 5 years, so then we would be negotiating the rate again in 5 years if we had to do this over 10 years. So then we looked at the municipal reserve as an option, and we have healthy reserves, and it would really be fiscally prudent for us to borrow from ourselves. Right now, we're receiving an average rate of 2.35% on our reserves, so we could borrow at that same rate and replenish that reserve within 5 years, not lose any interest, and reduce the amount of interest that we would pay. So we would not pay any interest externally. Like in the last 10 years, we've paid $880,000 in interest and only $840,000 on principal. So to me, it's much more desirable to borrow the money internally, save a lot of interest, not lose any interest, and have the debt paid off within 5 years. If there's any questions.
Thank you, Manuela. I'll ask councillors if you have any questions, just go ahead and ask away.
No, I don't have any questions. That's good debt to get rid of.
Yes, and I think it's wise to borrow from our own reserves. We won't be paying high interest rates, and can take care of the debt a lot quicker that way.
That's a job well done, Manuela.
Thanks very much. Yes, I think the key point to take away is that we don't lose any interest revenue. We actually come away with a few $1,000s more at the end of 5 years, and we don't pay out any interest. So the interest stays internally, and so it's really at the least amount of impact we could come up with to the taxpayers and getting rid of this debt. And we all know like any older building is going to need some rehabilitation. So it's replenishing our reserves so that we have money to contribute to hopefully a grant situation down the road. And it's just keeping our working capital within the municipality.
Thank you.
That's a very good choice, Manuela.
Thank you.
Will we be dealing with this by bylaw at our June meeting?
Yes.
Okay, so this will.
Yeah, I guess it will have to be June because there are no meetings in the summer.
There are, but we'll be
Yeah,
already into June.
There's one in each month, one in June, one in July, one in August. But if it can be ready for June, that'll be fine. So we'll come back to council in June. Okay, thank you very much, Manuela.
Thank you.
Item 7.3, staff memo, community service and tourism projects update. Alex, speak to that, please.
Thank you. I was asked to compile a couple updates on both the Wawa waterfront project as well as Main Street, Ontario. I won't go through them line by line, but essentially with the waterfront project, everything will be progressing quite shortly, likely after the long weekend or later into May. With the exception, the only delay that I can foresee is with the interpretive panels, and that's specifically because we're awaiting final approval on some of the translations, as well as some of the content of the signs. And because of those things, they need to go through many kind of organizations, right? There's the municipal approval, there's Mishpekaugan First Nation who does an approval, and then there's all of the funding organizations involved who also have to approve. That being said, this project's due date when the funding expires is September 30th. So we have given ourselves a good chunk of time to ensure that everything can get done during the summer. We will be releasing a construction schedule soon because there will be a little bit of additional work on the waterfront. I'm just waiting for one more contractor to get back to me. So I'm expecting before the end of May to be able to release a construction schedule and have construction start around the same time. As for the Main Street, Ontario project, we had received all of the furniture. We have to do some installs, like I talked to council about at a previous meeting, regarding just some basic logistical things to make sure that garbage cans don't go flying down the street at 2 in the morning. So at the end of the day, those projects are all moving forwards, and even some of the benches infrastructure has been able to install them over the last couple of days, and the garbage cans will be going out as soon as we get a little bit more hardware in to make sure we can cable them and make sure they're secure.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Alex?
Alex, is our parks opening up in town yet?
No, not yet. All parks are open for pass-through access only. We haven't received any direction regarding them opening. If you look at Ontario's three-step plan to reopen, outdoor recreation amenities are in phase 1 and in phase 2, depending on what amenity they are specifically. So we're expecting that some parks may open soon, but it's unlikely that playgrounds themselves will be open for quite some time, just based on what we're hearing from Algoma Public Health.
Thank you.
Alex, I have a couple of questions for you. some comments. This waterfront project, this is going to be our claim to fame, our showcase for Wawa. You know, I just hope that we can get this thing done right and have it look like a prize. And I know you're working on it. We're going to get the big rocks chinked.
Sorry, which ones are you referring to, Mr. Tate?
Well, the rock barriers along the beach there, you're supposed to get them chinked. I don't know if I didn't see that in the list.
Yeah, most of that work has already been done to substantial completion by the contractor and approved by the engineer.
Oh, really? Sure looks like a lot of gaps between those rocks. I thought it was going to be a little more filled in and be totally jagged like it is.
If council would like, it's something that I can speak to the engineer. However, it's something that we did speak about during an October set of meetings between ourselves, the contractor, and the engineer to ensure that we could come to a resolution on the matter.
Yeah, because as they brought to my attention a few times, like the boardwalk is not that wide, and if you get two kids going along the boardwalk, two bikes beside each other, and somebody cuts one off, there's going to be some damage.
Yeah, I think it is important to note that the rock section is intended as like essentially a retaining wall. It's not intended to walk on. All of the rocks have been shaped, and we went through with the contractor and the engineer to ensure that they were stable, but there absolutely are some gaps in them. And so it's something that we need to be clear to the public on our expectations, and that's that it's not a playground.
Yeah, I realize it's not a playground, but I'm just talking if somebody's on the boardwalk and there's two bikes going the same way, and you know, one guy gets cut off or a girl gets cut off and falls into those rocks. I just thought that we were going to put some sand all in between the rocks, like in, you know, kind of make it a little different than it is.
If you like, it's something that I can discuss with the engineer and get back to council on.
Okay. I just, you know, like we're going to finish up this project, and I know this is, we're going to try and brag about it, and I'd like to just make it sure it's all what it's supposed to be, and it is a showcase for our town.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the intention of the project.
Thank you for those questions. Just along that same line, Alex, when the job is done, do they account for some of the settling of the sand, and would they go back a second time?
Are you referring to a particular location, Mr. Mayor?
I'm just talking about where you're doing the chinking, if that's a proper term. The first time you put it in, you know, after the winter, after rainstorms, snowstorms, wind, it settles down. Is it part of the plan to go around a second time and add more, or was it to be done just the one time? That may be why Mr. Tate is raising some of the questions. Perhaps there was a lot of settling.
It does need to be reassessed. So there is a warranty holdback period of 1 year after substantial completion, and that is for the engineer and ourselves to walk through and ensure that the project did meet the guidelines that the engineer had set out in the tender document. So that's something that honestly, I'd like to wait until the ice actually comes in off of the lake, because normally that's where you get the most damage onto the beach, is when the ice really pushes things around. And then we'll have a second walk through and reassess.
Very good.
There may be some more work done. There may not be some more work done. It depends specifically on how that assessment goes and what the final tally, I guess you could, if the ice comes in.
Very good. So when you have that walkthrough, you just tell them council had some questions about it, and see what they say. Thank you very much for that.
Thanks.
Okay. 7.4 CEO budget report.
Thank you, Mayor. I prepared a report for council just to report back on the presentation on the proposed municipal operating capital budget that we made for council at the last meeting in April. To basically summarize any public comments received and to request that council tonight on its regular agenda, the bylaws that motions required to approve the operating capital budgets as were presented to council on April 28th. For a quick summary that operating budget includes a 2% increase to the municipal levy over the 2019 rate. Transfers from the operating budget to capital reserves will be $812,630. In the capital budget, there is a recommended expenditure of $6.4 million, of which $4.7 million would be financed from approved grants that we received this year. As Manuela set out, that the $1.61 million debenture loan that was funded to fund past upgrades to the community center is due and payable on August 7th. So our 2020 operating budget includes a down payment of $203,000 on that principal, of which $103,000 would be transferred to the operating budget from the existing discretionary reserve funds of council. Also, the 2020 budget contains the $151,000 set aside in a set of accounts referred to as COVID-19 to help us cover any expenses incurred in 2020 related to the pandemic. The chart below in the presentation I've provided to council represents the recommended revenues and expenditures by departments contained within the 2020 operating budget. The same chart that was presented April 28th is put forward to council to demonstrate that the total revenue and expenditures of $13,214,174 would be the proposed revenue and expenditures. The proposed bylaws are on tonight's council meeting, and the bylaws also set out the payment of the next 2 tax installment dates for our ratepayers. Those dates have been set at a later date than past years. We are proposing that the second half of our tax installment, that the third quarter would be due on July 31st, and the fourth and final quarter of the tax installment payment would be due on October 31st. Those dates are proposed later than normal to provide additional time to our ratepayers and our businesses to make payments to our taxes and to the municipality, providing them additional time. Public input into the operating capital budget was provided for residents between the period of April 29th right up until this past Friday, May 8th. The proposed budgets were shared on the municipal website. They were advertised on community media. Copies were provided to any person who emailed me. 5 individuals provided some comments and suggestions into the budget, and just to highlight some of those comments related to the housing shortage in Wawa, and that some ratepayers believe that council should consider options in the short term and the long term to increase the supply of available vacant lots in the community and housing facilities. It was suggested that that may be done with an approach with area businesses and partnerships with private sector. The reply for council on that suggestion was that that would have no impact to the 2020 operating budget as presented. However, if council wanted to pursue that type of development, it could impact future years' budgets. But for council tonight, that does not, those comments don't impact the 2020 operating budget. Another resident recommended that sometimes municipal operating budgets are very complex and difficult to understand. So they recommended that the municipality provide a 1 to 2 page summary of what the new budget means for ratepayers, for businesses, and what the major cost centers might be, and include a summary of the new tax rates to be shared. My response to the inquiry and for council's consideration is that this has no impact on the 2020 operating budget. An insert could be included in the next tax bills to our ratepayers that are mailed out in July, explaining the budgeted rates, and this was something that council has done in the past, so I recommend we do it again. Thirdly, the comments received were from some business owners who suggested that council should provide more support and financial relief for those businesses who are closed due to provincial regulations and due to the pandemic. My response to council is that the operating budget does provide for costs associated with the pandemic and includes forms of rate relief for our taxpayers. through both the extension of the tax due dates and the extended periods for our water and sewer bills to be paid without penalty and interest. The estimated cost of municipality for these rate relief programs is about $20,000. No other rate relief programs are recommended by staff at this time, as the provincial and federal governments have numerous dedicated programs that provide a variety of financial reliefs, such as subsidizing wages, providing rent relief, providing loans of up to $40,000, of which $10,000 is a grant or forgivable. And that given these programs that are available to businesses, in fact, that the province has not provided any additional dollars to any municipality in Ontario to deal with the cuts to its own budget it's dealing with as a result. For us to offer compensation to our ratepayers and our businesses, that should council consider that there should be further financial relief programs, it would have an increase impact on our budget, requiring the municipality to either set out some reductions in the budget, perhaps transfer from reserves, or potentially increase the tax levy to compensate for any increases in programs. So pending council's decision, it could have an impact on the 2020 operating budget, but for tonight, I don't recommend that council provide any additional programs for our business and ratepayers to deal with the pandemic, but it was something certainly we can bring to council should we hear of other programs that we might be able to support in the future. In the future, we only had about 5 citizens provide comments into the budget. I think in the future that council could consider holding town hall meetings, roundtable meetings, sharing the draft operating budget with the public or a citizens advisory group, or even conducting a citizen survey prior maybe to the budget being drafted to better gauge community priorities and provide additional opportunities for input in the budget. But in conclusion, and on behalf of the employees, the budgets do meet council's goals and priorities that they set out for us. The budget includes provisions for several important and necessary capital projects while maintaining a small tax levy increase of 2%, which brings just over $90,000 extra into the municipality's operating budget. As I highlighted earlier to council, we've taken every steps that were available to us to decrease our 2020 spending, to provide a COVID fund in this budget, and we've reduced travel and discretionary expenditures. So this budget, we do believe, is one that meets all the goals and priorities of council, and best does prepare for the impacts of COVID-19 in the short term. In the long term, impacts are greater. We would come back to council for a request for some consideration, perhaps, of dealing and providing more programs. But staff recommends that tonight council approve the budgets as presented with the 2% levy.
Thank you very much, Maury. Your presentation 2 weeks ago was excellent. There's more information tonight. Council has certainly had an opportunity to look over all the material. This is your last opportunity. If there are any further questions that you may have for Maury regarding the budget.
Just got one, Mr. Mayor, to Maury, through you.
Yes, go ahead.
Stating that through the COVID-19 has provided a lot extra work for these people and their staff. I'd like to say that, Maury, your staff, thank you to Manuela and Kathy for all the hard work that you guys endured through this COVID-19 to get to this report. I'm very proud of that. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Bill. We appreciate your words. And just to tell you that we certainly appreciate the work of all of our staff. And in the near future, we're going to do just a little something for everyone just to show how much we appreciate what people are doing. Any other questions? This will come up in our regular, in the bylaws for approval for this year. So thank you for your input and for council's work through the year on this matter as well. Item 7.5, the senior housing project. We're going to give you a verbal update, and we have a request as part of that. So last Thursday, the DSAB had their meeting, and the information regarding the Wawa Seniors Housing Project was presented to the board. The board has set aside a specific amount of money for this build, and the difference between the lowest bid and the amount of money that the board has set aside was just under $1 million. So the board is still committed to make this project work. Since last Thursday, Keith Bell, our CEO, has been working with the company that had the lowest bid. The board is prepared to come up with some extra money, and then also looking at the project to find out where we can get specific savings. It has been procedures in the past where municipalities assist the DSAB with construction costs. A lot of municipalities waive the building permits, and as well, if there's opportunities for additional stuff or to help out, funds are made available. What we're requesting is that we use the nuclear waste management fund that we have in our community. It was given to us for a specific project that council would choose. We talked about it as a legacy project, something that we could be proud of, something that would be for our citizens, and something that would last a long time. So what we're looking at currently in the fund is approximately $435,000. The initial $400,000 and $35,000 in interest. We want to use the approximate $35,000 for interest to cover the cost of the building permit. So we would be paying ourselves, so that money would go back into our own accounts, and we would cover the building permit. We're asking council if you would approve the contributions of up to $200,000 towards the project. And between now and Friday, Maury has been negotiating with Keith Bell on various aspects of the project. Obviously, the board has to make up, just under $1 million difference. The board is coming up with money at the same time changes are being made. So we're looking at some of the changes, and for instance, in one particular suggestion, the type of wood being used, they're recommending you go to a lower grade. Well, here's a project for our seniors that we want in our community for a long time. So we're saying if we really don't want that change to happen, that we're willing to fund that particular change so that it is put into our building, and we're proud of what it is that goes into that building. So when we created the accounts for that particular money, we had some initial requests for tens of thousands of dollars. And a few years ago, we created a bylaw that basically said community groups could apply for up to $2,000 or $3,000, and basically we would keep the principal amount and only distribute part of the interest. So what we would have to do if the board or council approves, we use some of that money in June, we would bring a new bylaw allowing us to take part of the principal for this major project for our community. This will be a $3 million project. It will allow 10 seniors to have brand new apartments in our community. Maury just talked about concerns by people in the community about our housing supply. By building this apartment complex, there will be 10 individuals, or some of them couples, that will move either out of their current apartment or current house into this new building, which will open up more housing for our community. So when we received the money from Nuclear Waste Management, it was for a major project, something lasting in our community. Nothing has come up in the last few years until this project. We want to make sure that this project happens and that it happens with, you know, input from us, and that little bit of contribution will help make sure that some of the finer points of the building will take place. If we give direction to do that tonight, then Maury will continue negotiating with Keith, and it is hoped that by Friday of this week, the ADSAB board will have reached an agreement with the lowest bid contractor, and then with input and help from ourselves, they'll create a contract and sign the papers this Friday. Maury will just add a little bit to that, and then we'll take comments from council.
Thank you, Mayor. And I think you've captured everything, that this project is very important. And as you're suggesting, as a legacy, to ensure that this project has some money to make sure that, you know, that the quality of products is used, that we preserve the life expectancy of the building, that if council would permit to dedicate up to the $200,000 or half of the principal of the NWMO, and allow me to approve the use of those funds with Keith Bell of the DSAB, and allow me to consider future transfer of up to $200,000 towards the construction cost of the housing project, with a full report to be provided to council at a future date. If council could verbally provide that permission tonight for me to move ahead and advise the DSAB, we'll follow up in June with the required bylaws.
Okay, I'd like to get comments from council. I'll start at the other end of the list. This time, Councillor Tate, will let you speak first to it.
Well, I think this is a great idea. This is long overdue, and well, I really hate to see this project fall between the cracks. So I'm in favor of going ahead with the plan of providing the funds.
Thank you very much. Councillor Reese?
I agree with the Mayor and Councillor Tate that this is a very valuable project for our community. It is needed, so I agree with this as well.
Great. Councillor Hatfield?
Mayor, I would like to say something to you. I don't know if people realize, but you have been working on this project a lot longer than we've been on council. And I would like to thank you very much, and you have my full support.
Well, thank you. Yes, it's been several years I've been on the DSAB, and been pushing for Wawa. And we're very fortunate because with the times now, it was already said at our last DSAB meeting, this is going to be the last major project for the Algoma DSAB for a few years. So we're fortunate that we got in under the wire, and we want to make sure it happens. So thank you. Councillor Chasson?
This project's been on the go since I'm a councillor, and I think it's the greatest thing in the world. So I'm in quite high favor of it. So let's go and keep it going.
Very good, Bill. Thank you. And also to your point, Bill, in the past, you've mentioned to me that a number of seniors have talked to you about, you know, what's being done. So you'll be able to answer that question. Something's coming up. Now, I don't know if this is the final way they're going to do it, but one of the discussions that took place in order to fill the building, one of the options being considered is it may be done by lottery. So people who are interested will be given an opportunity to submit their names, and 10 very fortunate individuals or couples will be selected to fill the new units in this building. So we thank you with that. We've now given Maury permission to continue our negotiations with Keith and all of the proper bylaws to make all this work will be coming forward to us in June. So thank you. Moving ahead, there's no in camera, no business arising from Next meeting is Tuesday, June the 9th. We'll have a mover to adjourn. I'll ask Robert to move for adjournment. All in favor, Councillor Chasson?
I'm in favor.
Councillor Hatfield?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Reese?
Yeah.
And Councillor Tate?
Yes.
Thank you. Our meeting is adjourned at 7:38. We can move right into our regular council meeting. So we'll just start with the roll call. Make sure I haven't lost you in the minute between the last meeting and this one. Councillor Chasson, you're
All
present.
here.
Okay, Councillor Hatfield,
I'm here.
thank you. Councillor Reese,
Yes, I'm still here.
thank you. And Councillor Tate. Did we lose Councillor Tate? Are you present?
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. And staff, we've got Kathy and Maury here. Manuela, are you still with us?
I'm still here.
Corey? Is Corey present?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Thank you. Alex?
I'm still here.
Kevin?
I'm here.
Thank you. And I don't think, it was Jason? He's operating things, but he's not with us. Okay, very good. Thank you. So any disclosure of pecuniary interests?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Hatfield here. I have a declaration. Councilor Hatfield would like to declare a potential direct pecuniary interest on agenda number 13.2, legal issue selection of integrity commissioners, for the reason not applicable closed meeting agenda item.
Thank you very much. So noted. Are there any other declarations of pecuniary interests? Seeing none, we'll move for approval of the agenda. And we have selected councillors, so I'll read, the clerk will read your names. So if you have a major issue with being the mover or seconder, let us know. Otherwise, we've made the selections.
Moved by Councillor Tate, seconded by Councillor Chasson. Resolved that the agenda for the regular meeting of council scheduled for Tuesday, May 12th be approved as presented.
Do you approve? Councillor Chasson?
I approve.
Councillor Hatfield?
Yes.
Councillor Reese?
I approve.
Thank you. Councillor Tate?
I approve.
Thank you. There are no delegations or presentations, announcements, and giving a notice. Our next regular council meeting is June 9th, and corporate is also on June the 9th. Adoption of minutes.
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, seconded by Councillor Reese. Resolved that the following minutes of a meeting of council be adopted as presented. Minutes of a regular meeting of council held on Tuesday, April 21st, 2020 is contained on pages 1 through 9, inclusive of the minute book.
Thank you. Do you approve? Councillor Chasson?
I approve.
Thank you. Councillor Hatfield?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Councillor Reese?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And Councillor Tate?
I approve.
Thank you. We have nothing under the, so it's carried. Thank you. Nothing under the consent agenda. Staff reports. We have a resolution to receive staff reports.
Moved by Councillor Tate, seconded by Councillor Chasson. Resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Wawa does hereby receive the following reports, a copy of which are attached here to A, CAO 2020-02, Financial Impacts of COVID-19. B, CAO 2020-03, 2020 Municipal Budget. C, CS 2020-05, Report for the month of April 2020. D, MB 2020-01, Debenture Repayment.
Thank you. Do you approve? Councillor Chasson?
I approve.
Thank you. Councillor Hatfield?
Yes, I approve.
Thank you. Councillor Reese?
Yes, I approve.
Thank you. Councillor Tate?
Yes, I approve.
Motion is carried. Number 9, no business arising. Nothing under 10, nothing under 11. So we'll move to bylaws. We have a motion.
Moved by Councillor Hatfield, seconded by Councillor Reese. Resolved that the following bylaws be introduced and read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed, and that the mayor and clerk do sign and seal the same. Any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding. Bylaw number 3303-20 to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the townships of Dubreuilville, White River, and Horn-Payne, and to provide services of an asset management coordinator for the period May 2020 to April 2021. Bylaw number 3304-20 to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on the 12th day of May 2020. Bylaw number 3305-20 to adopt the estimates of all sums required and to fix the rate of taxation for the corporation of the municipality of Wawa, and to further provide for penalty and interest and default of payment thereof for the year 2020. Bylaw number 3306-20 for the establishing of tax capping options for properties in the commercial, industrial, multi-residential tax classes, and for establishing the 3 bands of assessment of property for the purposes of facilitating graduated tax rates for the properties included in the commercial tax classes for the corporation of the municipality of Wawa. Bylaw number 3307-20 to establish the percentage by which tax decreases are limited for a taxation year for the commercial, industrial, and multi-residential property classes. Bylaw number 3308-20 for the establishing of tax ratios for the corporation of the municipality of Wawa. Bylaw number 3309-20 to adopt the small-scale on-farm business subclass in the industrial property class within the corporation municipality of Wawa. Bylaw number 3310-20 to authorize the corporation of the municipality of Wawa to enter into an agreement with Pension Limited for the provision of professional engineering services for the municipality. Bylaw number 3311-20 to authorize the corporation of the municipality of Wawa to enter into an agreement with Crescent Engineering Corporation for the provision of professional engineering services for the water treatment and wastewater services.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, I'll call a question. Do you approve, Councillor Chasson?
I approve.
Councillor Hatfield?
Yes, I approve.
Thank you. Councillor Reese?
Yes, I approve.
Thank you. Councillor Tate?
Yes, I approve.
The motion is carried. Thank you. We have a motion to go into closed session.
Moved by Councillor Tate, seconded by Councillor Chasson, resolved that this committee proceed in camera at 7:46 p.m. in order to address the following matters pertaining to a legal issue. 1 item, selection of the Integrity Commissioner. This is related to advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. 2, personal matter. There's 2 items, water and sewer rate relief, and the second one is noise and parking concerns, and that's related to personal matters about an identifiable individual. And the next item is it's a legal issue, offer to purchase property, and it's proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board.
Are there any questions? See, if not, I'll call the question. Councillor Chasson, do you approve?
I approve.
Thank you. Councillor Hatfield?
Yes, I approve.
Councillor Reese?
Yes, I approve.
Thank you. And Councillor Tate?
Yes, I approve.
Thank you very much. We will move into in camera now.
Yes, and so I would ask that all staff who are on the phone to disconnect, please. Council to remain on the line. I'm going to stop the voice recording of our presentation at this time, and we will resume for the public and come out of the in-camera session in a few minutes, but ask people to stand by. So if council give us 2 minutes and we'll speak to council in camera.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, when do I,
When the item comes up, stay for the beginning of the meeting.
thank you.
I just need 2 minutes to make sure I get the right email.
Okay.
I had 4.
Hmm? Are we set, ready to go? Okay, so we have a motion to adjourn, moved by Robert. If you could read the resolution for us, Kathy?
Resolved that the meeting be adjourned at 8:43 PM.
All in favor, Councillor Chason,
In favor?
Councillor Hatfield,
In favor.
thank you. Councillor Reese,
Yes, in favor.
thank you. Councillor Tate,
Yes, in favor.
thank you. And I'd like to thank all the councillors tonight. We had excellent meetings, good discussion. I'm sure I'll see you before Tuesday, June the 9th, but our next meeting will be on Tuesday, June the 9th. So thank you very much. Good evening.
Hey, good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you, Mayor. Good night, everyone.
You're welcome. Thank you.